Welcome, everyone, to Two Guys in Hockey Talk, Season 7, Episode 21. I am Pawel the Cat with my wonderful co-host, Evan Renaerts. Evan, how you doing?
Hey, man, I'm much better than last week. I think I was there was so much to talk about, but I was just brain dead from working too many hours in a row and long nights. But today, I feel revved up, if you could call it that. Really excited. I'm looking behind you. We have talked about this for 2 years, Pawel. Do you believe it's been that long in this show? 2 years. And we've been talking about Team Canada, Team USA, Sweden. I'd like to get into a little discussion a little later on, though, around it, because I still want to talk about Russia. I still want to talk about that. I know some of you are going to get mad. Some of you are actually going to be frustrated. Some of you are going to love the conversation. But you know what? Long as we're disrespectful, long as we're respectful on here, I say all thing is fair. And today, man, we got news. We got news in a lot of other places than just the NHL. So there'll be a lot of around the rink today, buddy.
Yeah, there's quite a bit happening given that the NHL is on pause due to the fact that the
pause. I love it. So just so you guys know, Pawel is also known as Pause.
I don't think I want to be known as a pause in the NHL season. I don't think that's good rep for our channel. But yeah, we can get into it because there's been quite a bit of news happening. Let's get into it's no easy way to kind of bring this up, but Jim Robson, the legendary voice of the Vancouver Canucks, has passed away at the age of 91. He was their first team's play-by-play announcer, beginning with their expansion team back in the 70s. And he called over 2,000 games, Evan, in nearly 3 decades before retiring in 1999. People in Vancouver or any fan of the Vancouver Canucks know that his voice is synonymous with the thing, and he's a beloved figure in the community, even after his career ended. And so we saw an outpouring of support and thoughts and condolences from all fans of the game, including those in Vancouver. And we were honored and lucky to be able to watch some of the play-by-play that he did, even when I was growing up, getting to hear him. Any thoughts there?
I being in British Columbia, I got to hear him a lot over the years. Of course, and not just in hockey, but in other circles, sports around. And, as much as, he wasn't that Steve Armitage or he wasn't a Chris Cuthbert but he was big. And his ability to be around the game and to build the game was phenomenal. And so my heart goes out to the family and friends. And, it's a tough one because it's the constant of life that continues to go around. And I think if anything, we got to keep remembering life is short. It doesn't matter whether we're young or old when we pass, but enjoy every moment. And if you're a fan of hockey, enjoy every moment of it. The good, the bad, the ugly, put it aside, find ways to actually go back to the heart of the game. And that's like remembering what it was like where kids are young. The beginning of the game, it was you play for the passion of the game. That's kind of our highlights that we always focus in on. So, but yeah, great man. Great man.
Yeah, it was great with the outpouring of love that we saw. So we wish his family all the best. Now, there's no easy way to kind of transition to this, but the Islanders, and there has been some NHL news, took care of a little bit of business when they renewed their partnership with Delmar International, who is a global logistics and supply chain company. So they're continuing their multi-year collaboration going. And that has to deal with the branding at UBS Arena during broadcast, so affecting on community engagement, regional connection, and business growth. And Delmar leaders highlighted the partnership's community initiatives and their longstanding relationship with the team, including support for military families and local charities. So just a nice piece of business. People don't always see that side, but there's a lot going on behind the scenes to make any hockey operation work. And this is just one of those things that they're dealing with, right? People often think of fans on the ice, or the players on the ice and the fans in the building. But you have a lot of behind the scenes that goes into making every year 41 games interactive and fun. Go ahead.
And if I can just add on to what Pawel has been talking about here for all of you guys that are listening or watching right now, just recognize we are two guys in hockey talk. What you're going to find very different about us is we talk all things hockey. And so we're not just talking about exactly the ice. We're not just talking about one league. We're not talking about a player. We're talking management. We talk about sponsorship deals. We get in behind the stories behind hockey. We talk about the hard stuff. We talk about the fun stuff. So when you hear pieces like this, we want you to know stuff that you would just never normally actually hear about. So Pawel, that was a great find. I got so busy with what was going on. And so when I saw you make your posting, and by the way, guys, if you want to follow us, you can actually follow us right over on our website at twoguysandhockeytalk.com. When you follow us over there, you can check out all of our articles. That's where Pawel puts up some of the different stuff. You can go there right now, twoguysandhockeytalk.com, or you can pull up and go to some of our YouTube. You can pull up all of our episodes, some of our shorts, so you don't have to watch the entire thing and hear just, my buddy going blah, 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 blah. You can just catch his short blah, blahs, or my little rants, or my senseless, as he says, little going-ons that I'm totally wrong. But go there, check us out. Follow us on YouTube, though, but make sure you subscribe. It helps us. If we're here and you enjoy our content, do that. Like and subscribe to both of those things, so that we can make this actually happen for you. And then I'd like to thank our sponsors, JR Web Designs, for our site. We'd like to thank for our intro and our outro video that you see that comes on with the music, electronic hard rock band with Evan Berg and Jax. And they are called Penny Billionaires. On top of that, we have the pro scouting with Jason Bacala, who you guys know from the Florida Panthers and Sportsnet, and now has their own company. You can follow all their material. And Hart Levine with his company over there at Puckpedia. You can follow in the American Premier Hockey League. So it is a men's semi-pro league over in Michigan and all around the area there that you can actually check out to, one of them with the Michigan Warhounds. And I think I'm missing one more somewhere in there. Oh, my gosh. Was there one more that I missed?
Flow Hockey.
Flow Hockey. Wow. And how can I miss that, guys? The boys at Flow Hockey. If you want to catch Flow Hockey will give you all that junior NCAA. And by the way, we're not advertising for them right now, per se, but Big Ten hockey. So Lost Trucker, who comes on often, will actually tell you all about. You can follow tons of stuff. And Victory Plus is another place you can follow. We want to let you guys know all the places that you can catch it. So. But anyway, just to plug in there, thanks for bearing with us, but we want to plug in these guys. Go ahead, follow them as well.
For sure. And so we'll get into essentially Olympic news, because the Olympics are in full swing. We've had 2 full preliminary games in the men's league, as well as the women's starting up. First off, I want to get into the women's, because the Canadian team took a shellacking by the Team USA, beating them 5-0. Now, I got to be honest with you, Team Canada looked very slow and just not prepared. Now, they were missing some bodies, and Team USA came flying on all 4 cylinders, ready to compete. Now, they're a little bit younger. They have a little bit more infused talent. What did you make of game 1 between US and Canada? Because I got a little worried there by the end.
Marie-Philip Poulin went down. That took away all their scoring touch. One of the things that I always wondered about, and there's a lot now of scrutiny right now in Team Canada, they took the veterans. They went with, instead of taking the skill. And so now what happens is when you have a player go down, now I haven't heard today because I've been quite busy. I wasn't able to follow up. I don't know what the status is. I still think it's called day-to-day, unless you know something different here. But without her, I think they're going to be lucky to be in the gold medal game now. Like literally, Poulin is that important to that game. I think this is now in the United States' hands for women's hockey to be totally dominant. I really would like to see the European team, something happening to see them pick up. Not sure how long this is going to be. There's too much dominance between Calgary, Canada. They were based in Calgary. That's why I got my mind over there. And the U.S. for far too long. And every silver gold medal seems to always go through there for women's hockey. I love that they keep it going. but it's almost a guaranteed medal between those two countries.
For sure. And Sweden did beat Germany 4-1 in Group B opening. And Italy, the host country, beat France 4-1, which was impressive, right? So we've got a few more teams coming up. It should be fun to watch. And then speaking of Team Italy.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, don't forget Perry Pern, one of our former guests, is coaching the China Hockey Club. So he's coaching China, guys. One of our former guests from last year, Perry Pern, very famous in Western Alberta. Go look him up. He's been in youth sports everywhere you can think of. An incredible man. For sure. And speaking of Italy, the host country, they had a heck of a game today versus Sweden. Now, you may think, oh, they won. No, they did lose 5-2 with empty netter finished off by Victor Hedman. But it shocked the world today, scoring first early in the game through Luca Frigo. And really, they played with passion and intensity. The goalie, Damien Clara, he was a great, just a great performance, right? Like, just incredible. Ted says, do not mention Finland. Well, okay, I don't know if that's sarcastic or not. Like, we'll get into it. But your thoughts on Evan, even though Sweden looked a little kind of uncomfortable and shaky, even though they have some superstars, they kind of come in and play hard in the first two periods before they took that lead. And it took a while. And even with Clara going out after that injury, after that save on Pedersen, I was just like, he is starting to look like just prime Hasek, man. I mean, people don't recognize the travel when you're crossing over. Actually, Timu's on right now. Timu, you flow between Europe and North America. Maybe you can kind of make a comment here just around how tough that is, especially for a hockey player to actually come and perform at the highest level, especially in that first game or two. I know they got some practice time, but that I always worry about that. The women got here a little bit earlier, but even the women, like, I think you're still another 2 days away from seeing the women really starting to look good, which could be a difference for Team Canada here. So, but yeah.
He says Antti Pennanen should be locked up in some line in prison for life, which I mean is a country club, but point still stands for him putting Rantanen on the third line minutes. Oof.
I didn't catch the game. Rantanen was on the third line?
I caught pieces of it. So I want to say Juraj Slavkovsky looked dominant. Like, if there was any doubts from Montreal fans about any NHL fans, him going first overall in the draft, he just proved it. That's how good he is. This kid is going to be a stud in the NHL. And he made it look so seamless and easy. And I just think that, like, Finland, who's expected to be one of the top contenders, they really struggle. Oh, you don't agree that Slavkovsky...
That he's going to be a stud? No. Do you remember my take? My take is, like... I do. I don't see Slavkovsky being a better overall player ever by the time his career is done than Taylor Hall.
Okay.
Taylor Hall came in really highly rated, and he fell short. I think that... Ross. Yeah, what's that?
Hart.
He won one. He won one. But, yeah, to me, Hall was he a stud? I don't know if he ever was a stud. That year was probably his best year to prove Edmonton wrong for making that trade from Cirelli. And we don't want to talk about Peter Cirelli and all the players he traded away starting in Boston. I mean, that guy, if you want to get somewhere, just make sure that you get Cirelli on another team that you want their players, and then he's going to get rid of their superstars.
Well, Timu says he had 50 minutes of time on ice, which is very little for him. We had players on Slovakia have more time on ice on the third line in National League or whatever.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, that's interesting, right?
So I'm going to go back and catch the game tonight.
Yeah, we'll be interested to see. But Sweden, it took them a while to get going, but really they finally got their legs going. But Gustafsson looked a little shaky. And I believe the shots ended up being like 60 plus for Sweden by the end of it, which was insane, right? So it goes to show you that sometimes you can get hot at the right time, have a great goaltender, and all of a sudden, you're in it. And the fact that they scored, I think it was like 2 goals on 5 shots, was very impressive.
I will say that I've saw all over in the X world, I've saw tons of different articles getting written that the Oilers are about to sign that goalie for the next 8 years. I don't even know who the goalie was. Let's say I didn't catch the games today. So.
Oh, it was I think I just mentioned Don.
Yeah, you said his name, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
If I mentioned his name and I got it wrong, you'd be all over me. So I just wasn't going to do that.
I believe he's already drafted, and I want to say he's a pick for Florida.
He is. I don't think
I'm going to double check. I'm going to double
he's
check.
undrafted, or maybe
He's
he was
60th pick for the Ducks. I apologize, for the Ducks in the 2023 draft.
So trade for him.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. You have your number one starter.
Man.
Yeah, so it's been interesting. Any other highlights beyond what you've kind of watched so far with the Olympics? I mean, it's slowly building up and getting there. Although it's interesting to see how there's no hockey right now because a lot of clubs are on pause, players are taking breaks, vacation, whatever it may be.
I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with Team Canada. Everyone's making a big deal about the lines and stuff like that right now. I don't know why you would put Crosby and McKinnon on different lines unless you needed to. I think that's just actually kind of silliness by Cooper, like trying to make the lines 4 wide. Why? You're not going to play 4 full lines. You're going to go to your top 2. And why would you put Crosby on a 3rd line? Like that's just ridiculous. Like, I don't like this comes back to the coaching favor and the GM favor for Team Canada, bringing their players onto this team. Listen, at least don't coach like you are got your favoritism. Like, you moving your guy up higher, or did he just want Hagel to play with Crosby? I don't even know who was on the lines, but I will say this. They have, and I said this when Tom Wilson went out there, what if they put Wilson and Celebrini filling that Ryan Nugent-Hopkins role and putting Wilson filling the Hyman role so that there could be potential chemistry? I like this. Tom is big and tough. If he doesn't play over the edge, if he just stays on the edge, that could free up a lot of room.
Olympics,
yeah, I think that could be your dominant line.
100%. I mean, I feel for Team Czechia, who has some NHLers on it, although Pavel Zacha is going to be out now, and I think he's being replaced by Philip Klapik. But even David Kampf, who normally is supposed to be a 4th, if not 3rd line center, he's probably going to be playing 1st, if not 2nd line center. Imagine going up any of those lines. Who are you facing off with? Here's line 1 with McDavid. Here's line 2 with McKinnon. All right, that's fine. I'll play line 3. Well, here's Sidney Crosby. Oh, I can't imagine the pressure to play against one of these guys, right?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. How about Snoop Dogg, too? I mean, Snoop loves the Olympics. We knew he was on The Voice previously, and it brought everything out. And now Snoop Dogg and Team USA for some off-ice fun, right? Team USA meeting up with Snoop Dogg in Milan. You know what? This is what it's about. It's about television. It's about getting the excitement in there of all, and they will get their celebrities in there one way or another. So let's just say Matthew Tkachuk has already called Snoop Dogg the highlight of the trip. Good on him.
And Timu says Antti Pellerin is literally hated across Finland. He's a domestic terrorist. The only reason the game was a blowout because of bad coaching again. And Saros played like Skinner.
Okay, which Skinner? Edmonton Skinner or Pittsburgh Skinner? Obviously, Edmonton Skinner.
No, of course.
It'll turn. You watch. There's going to be a turn. Jari's going to play well for Edmonton. Skinner's going to start playing bad again in Pittsburgh. And then everybody's going to say, see, I told you so. And then when it switches again, they're going to say, see, I told you so. And if they're both playing bad at the same time, they'll say, see, I told you so. And if they're both playing good at the same time, they'll go, well, see, it was worth the change.
It takes a while to kind of get adjusted, right? I mean, they went to back-to-back shutouts with their team for the Oilers. And then all of a sudden, everyone's over the moon with goaltending in Edmonton, and then they laid an egg. And speaking of that egg that they had...
You didn't mean shutouts. You meant cups, right?
No. I meant the back-to-back wins, I believe, versus 2 teams where they won 6-0 and 5-0.
Okay.
And they outscored their opponent and really just...
hey, before you go to your next point there, I just want to mention, first time in history going into the Olympics, they enter the break, and Connor McDavid has a staggering, I know McKinnon's right behind him, 96 points, the most ever in history before Olympic break. Like, that's crazy.
The guy
since the NHL players have been allowed to play, that is.
Yeah, and I think the guy just has a chip on his shoulder. He had his, I believe we talked a little about it last week, the players' tribute that he wrote, and just his passion and desire to win gold and represent his country amongst playing for Edmonton and the difficulty of losing the cup. The guy wants to win, and I mean that's what he's made for, and he's really driven to win. So I'm excited to see what he's able to do because this is the world stage, and it could be a potential passing of the torch from Crosby to him. So I only wish Bedard was there, but hopefully things get figured out. And Timu says Drew Doughty on defense for other teams forward is like me at a Popeyes for my annual once a year, eating everything. Yeah, I always find it interesting with veterans when they get invited, but I can understand why. I mean, I would have liked to see Matthew Schaefer, and I think my prediction of him being a Calder winner is probably going to come to fruition. However, I understand why coaches go with the veterans because they rely on it. Now, speaking of veterans, Leon Draisaitl, who's going to be captaining Team Germany, and that's a sneaky good team. Like they have Stutzel up there, Moritz Seider, Grubauer is going to represent. They could be, one that could be a pesky team to play with. But he made some comments before the
break
ended, before the break, and he talked about how, including coaching, there's issues with the locker room, and that there needs to be something fixed up. And there's been all kinds of rumblings in Oilers land and Oilers Nation about the fact that Paul Coffey may return behind the bench. Now, there's been nothing verified yet, but there are rumblings about it. But he's called out everybody because it seems like it's not good enough losing to not only Toronto and Calgary, but also just not performing better and struggling this year to even string together 3 wins. Yeah. So your thoughts on him calling out players, especially right before the break to head over to the Olympics, and just in general, what can the Oilers do? Because they look kind of discombobulated, Evan.
This is a really tough one because we don't know what actually happens behind the scene. So one of the things that I'm worried about, we'll get right to your comment here in just a moment, Timu. One of the things that really bothers me is I don't like when things go public. And that's not like Draisaitl to do that. He's very good at holding things in. He's taken the blame for other groups. We know that there was already tension with Paul Coffey and Chris Knoblauch. Just a difference of opinion. I don't think Knoblauch liked that he had a coach that actually is the right-hand man for the owner, Daryl Cates. And, he was the advisor to the owner. And now, there's a call for him. Coffey, supposedly, physically, it's really tough for him behind the bench physically. And that is just because you have to do a lot of standing and stuff. And he's got some different, I don't know if it's back issues or things like that. You can't sit on a stool, obviously, behind those places. So I don't see him actually coming back health-wise. Maybe just to finish this year if something happened. But I can't see it happening with Chris Knoblauch. They'd have to move out Knoblauch. But I've said this from the beginning. Knoblauch, hey, standard guy. I think he's a good guy. I don't think he's a better coach than Jay Woodcroft. I think Jay Woodcroft got a bum deal out of this whole thing because the team sucked, and it was on them. Knoblauch coming in didn't do anything different other than just went back to basics. And Manson out, and then, of course, Coffey coming in. I think this should have been credited to Coffey, and seeing that he's not there, you can see the difference right now. Big difference here with it. So there's a lot of rumors by, like, you got Elliot Friedman, you got Frank Saravelli. Friedman saying, no, it ain't happening. Saravelli saying it's happening. But I don't see it happening unless it's a one-off just to finish this year, to salvage a season with it. But the Draisaitl likes Coffey. I know that. That's very important. I think if he's saying coaches, it may not mean one coach. It might mean the coaching structure. It could be in between some of this stuff. So that's going to be interesting around it. Normally, he would never do that. So I can't see them not touching coaching now, though. I think that when they come back, they may hold off. But if they don't get on a winning streak and get like 4 or 5 games in a row, and because they can't keep going, they're only lucky they're in a bad division right now for points. Otherwise, they'd be probably on the outside looking in.
100%. And I believe Mark Stewart is maybe on the hot seat, given that he's one of the assistant coaches and has really struggled to kind of fix the penalty kill. The one thing I will mention, because people don't know this, the thing with Paul Coffey is that he didn't really want to get back into this, but he's connected with Daryl Cates, the owner. He got back. He normally lives in Toronto. That's his kind of place of residency. He wants to enjoy life, but he does small things, So it's not like he's bringing in a completely different structure. But he would, for example, he moved all the defensemen in the locker room to sit together, so they were on the same side. He would talk to players after plays and just had a conversation with them and like what's going on and kind of get a feel for him. That was his kind of coaching and or leadership style. And I think that's what he kind of brought to the team to calm the nerves of the players in high intense situations. And he's been there. I mean, he's played in some high risk, high intense situations. Evan, you know this. He's won big. He's played in he's played with high profile players, both Mario Lemieux and with Wayne Gretzky. So he knows exactly what is expected of Connor and Leon. And I think there has to be something that changes. Otherwise, Edmonton is in for a rude awakening, especially since if this year is a bust for Edmonton or they don't win the cup, you've got only 2 more years of Connor McDavid. And he's probably looking at what's going to happen after that. And long and behold, in a year's time from now, we're discussing, does Connor McDavid extend with Edmonton again, right? Or is this another conversation like we had this year? So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but we'll definitely keep an eye on it. And then Timu says Germany could beat Finland at this rate. Grubauer's Mr. Clutch himself versus Nathan McKinnon, Cale Makar, Seattle versus Colorado Game 7. Yeah, they're in a playoff position this year, even though last year he struggled. And, he could play well. He's had good seasons. It's been tough in Seattle over the last few years. Your thoughts there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nope, that's fine. And on that note, we're going to jump in to Around the Rink.
All right.
Around the Rink, brought to you by Flow Hockey. All right, Evan, we're going to get into something that we discussed last week that was very hot as a topic in the hockey world, and that's Gavin McKenna. And we laid it all out, and we had a lot of conversations with you both online during the show and afterwards. And so there's some news that's come out since because, again, we were patient and we waited. We didn't jump on any conclusions, and more information came out. And it sounds like not only did the prosecutors withdraw the felony aggravated assault charges, as you indicated, you said that they would probably settle, but the evidence video evidence that they had didn't support the intent for the felony charges, and that was that most serious charge that he faced. Yeah. Now, there are still some other charges he's facing with a preliminary hearing scheduled for March 11th. But with that being said, it was announced by Penn State that he will still be playing in the upcoming games. So that's not going to impact. And this is against Michigan. So the head coach confirmed this, even as these legal matters unfold. But it sounds like this is not going to impact so far what's happening to Gavin McKenna. Now, we don't know what's going to happen with the draft. We can't say. We don't believe anything will happen, as we indicated. The only thing I said is that maybe some teams, and I admitted this, may not look at this as a top number 1 pick. He may drop to the second. Highly unlikely, but you never know, right? Stranger things have happened at the draft. That being said, are there any thoughts you want to follow up with on Gavin McKenna?
So I'm not sure. They're not making it public right now with some of the video footage that they've been able to see, but it looks like that going past what we shared last week, that there was potentially, and again, this hasn't been corroborated yet. It's out there, just like some of the other information was out there that we trusted, but there could have been a pushing of his mother, not just calling her a whore and a whole bunch of other stuff. And recognize this guy is like 3 years older than Gavin McKenna, and he would not leave it alone. He just would, probably drunk himself. That would be a piece. But, in the end, I still think this is just a case of money. But please, everyone recognize the misdemeanor is nothing to do with the guy charging Gavin. That is the police that are on campus that have something in there. What worries me about this, and this is about sport, not about hockey, could there be a bit of, I'm not saying money behind, but, when you have athletes in college and stuff, they want it to go away and they don't want it to be out there. And so some reason they they go, if it's nothing that they're hiding, maybe that misdemeanor just goes away. I don't think that misdemeanor will actually come down and he'll become guilty of the misdemeanor. Okay. In like 2 days. So he's fine. Yeah, exactly. Timo. That's what we've kind of been, just saying about. I knew there would be no suspension, nothing along that line. Right now, he is a folk hero in a lot of your hockey circles, saying stick up for family, do what you have to do. I don't think it's going to go against his character. Now, by the way, something I want to mention about Gavin McKenna for all those that have been really big on Ivor Stenberg, and I'm hearing, he's tough. Well, man, he didn't break somebody's jaw. No, I'm joking. But Gavin's bigger. He has more. If you guys remember, one of the things, and Timo, maybe you've been around amateur scouts and worked with young goalies. But one of the things that I've heard from a couple scouts is they like to see more development, maturity that can come from a player in the draft when there's a lot of room to grow. And he has a lot of room to put on muscle, lean muscle, to put on size, to put on weight along the lines. So now Guy Godowski you guys can go find it on Spitting Chicklets. Guy Godowski, his coach, actually went on and said about how good he really is. And he talked about, it's just not his vision, it's like how he slows the game down, holds the puck. And the one thing that he says is no matter what he does, even when he comes in to training and off ice training and in shape, he is elite. He's elite at everything. And that's what these other guys are not going to have in this race. I feel like this is ridiculous. There was no way Nathan McKinnon was not going first, and there is no way that Gavin McKenna is not going first. I don't care who's out there, who's trading. This is just a bunch of hoopla that happens every draft year. I'll eat my dirty socks right here on air at the draft, on our draft party day, if Gavin McKenna does not go first overall. I just said it.
Wow. Some bold words. So you guys can hear it first. So make sure to turn in July 1st when we host the draft. It's usually
not the first. I think it's 25th or something.
Is it 25th? Sorry, I apologize.
July 1st is free agent frenzy.
Free agency, sorry. But yeah, there's always something going on. Speaking of other deals, the American Hockey League and the CCM brand hockey have extended also their partnership, that they're going to be the official supplier for all 32 teams, right? They're going to keep supplying head-to-toe referee and linesman uniforms, sponsor the All-Star game with their classic jerseys and event apparel, and retain exclusive rights to produce official on-ice and replica jerseys, as well as licensed Calder Cup championship hats and shirts. Again, another great deal in the books, good for the AHL. Because oftentimes players, if you stick with a particular brand like CCM, you usually want to continue on. It's rare that players change it up. Now they have changed up stick styles or skates brands, but it really will depend on the need of the player, especially if they believe something's not working for them. Yeah. That's pretty cool. And speaking of development leagues, the CHL, Evan, you're going to love this. They announced for their 50th anniversary the Canadian hockey top 50 players over the last 50 years, celebrating who has been the most influential and accomplished alumni across the 3 member leagues that they have, the WHL, OHL, and the QMJHL. So some people that you would recognize are Wayne Gretzky, Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid, Connor Bedard, but also former goaltender for Vancouver, Roberto Luongo, and Cam Neely of the Boston Bruins, right? It was picked by a media panel of experts who consider player junior successful professional careers, championships, and overall impact of the game. Any thoughts there?
Man, the CHL has been the biggest provider of NHL talent for like decades upon decades, since the 80s, early 80s, around there. And I just like to say, moving forward, I know we had Bob Turo on, the United States, the United States Premier Hockey League, the largest junior hockey league in the world. He had been during once COVID hit, he was in there as the commissioner. And so he was on our show talking about the shift to NCAA. I just want to make a mention. any old statistics from NCAA, when they say like Celebrini was there before the changes, from this year on, any of the competition is different because you have now top CHL talent in there. Like right now, I don't know what Bob's last was on his tracker. I should actually go back and post it here in a few minutes when you're talking again. But when I'm looking at those trackers, I'm telling you guys, it's insane how many players are signing now in the NCAA, and they are a product of the building of the CHL. They've come through their leagues and places. So their development isn't actually specifically the NCAA. Maybe if they come in and they're average in their first year, and by the third year they're dominant, then I'll give it to the NCAA. But don't go buying all the news that the NCAA is the number one provider when they're actually taking players from the CHL now. So I'm still not a big a believer in crediting. I'm cool with however it works to work best for players to get them the most ready. I think it's wonderful. I think NCAA will become better than ever. But can I just say this? I sure hope they change their coaching style and they start bringing in actually coaches that are not, and I apologize to anyone American, but they need to get some more Canadian coaches in on those, a lot of those places because they coach a different style of hockey. And, more than anything, that's, I mean, like even right now, Penn State, a lot of people are talking about how good, some of the players playing with Gavin are. Folks, none of them are going to play in the NHL. How good are they really? And it's because they're older players. They come in, but they're coached well, but they're at their limit. This is their pinnacle. Whereas guys like Gavin McKenna and Luke Misa they have development still to come in, right? So, but yeah, hats off to Major Junior Hockey. I hope that we see things start to settle in the next year or two so we can really know what the landscape is like for people making decisions.
100%. I agree with you. And finally, in KHL news, there's been some shifts. Again, I know the NHL is down, but the KHL keeps going. And it shows that CSKA in Moscow is emerging as a new favorite, potentially to being a favorite to winning with some personnel changes. Meanwhile, Curtis Volk left Automobiles Yekaterinburg by mutual agreement, becoming a free agent. And former NHL forward, Toronto Maple Leaf and New York Ranger Jimmy Vesey is reporting considering moving to the KHL for more playing opportunity. You always see players there who want to play a little bit more and get that ice time. And it sounds like there's also a deal with the Islanders signing French forward Pierrick Dubé following his contract termination in the KHL. Again, you see that often where players go over to the KHL, get a little practice time, and then come back to the NHL or AHL to get back into it. So we'll be interested to see what's going on there.
Hey, so this is interesting. Kelvin Pickard's agent is comparing his client to the current Oilers tandem. He says this, there's not enough evidence that says, yes, the other guys are better. Come on. Just like, I love Kelvin Pickard as his character, his personality, and I believed in him this year until he just can't put together a string of even 2 games in a row. And the bad goals, like I feel like Father Time has caught up to Pickard, and it happens, man, when it happens. I know Timu might be off right now, but Timu, if you're around, you check this later, put a comment in that people can come back to. It seems like with goalies, when they hit their wall, and it's time to move on. Very few are able to kind of turn that baby around. And but yeah, it's quite the statement though. I was rather shocked by it, actually, to be honest with you.
Interesting. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on it because they do have 3 goalies, and they're going to have to continue to find a solution if they want to get rid of Pickard, because they did waive him and he wasn't picked up, which I was surprised about because I know there's been rumblings about it. But that's all on my end for Around the Rink. Do you have any final thoughts, Evan, for Around the Rink?
No, I'm well, actually, you know what? I actually was thinking about something here. Right. I just let me just kind of pull up a couple things that so where do we go here? Maybe it wasn't Around the Rink. Nope, it wasn't around the rink. Sorry, I'm good for around the rink.
All right, before we jump over to your thought, I did want to bring out one more thing about the Olympics because you've been able to watch at least a game or two, right, Evan?
Yeah.
I wanted to get your thoughts because we hammered this point for a very long time, as did most of North American media. The rink. What were your thoughts seeing as a fan the rink in Milan Cortano for the NHL players and a lot of the elite players that were playing?
Okay, so you're asking me the overall rink or the ice?
Both. I mean, I don't know how you tell it's the ice because unless you have something that you want to, what's it called?
Yeah. So the ice, because I've watched women's. I haven't caught the men's that just started today. So that was the difference. But with the women, because they don't have the same speed, I'm not noticing any difference in that neutral zone around that. Everything else is pretty much the same size in the offensive, defensive, within the blue lines or around it. So I actually think they did a really good job at trying to get this thing together in the limited amount of time. And considering it wasn't put together. Now, I can't disclose sources, and I can't go further and deeper into it, and I don't even know the legitimacy. So I probably shouldn't even say this, but I heard part of this was the discrepancy of labor that wasn't fair equity pay, if you guys get my hint, in Italy.
Yes.
Using people, let's just say there's issues in places like China and Mexico and other places. I heard the same thing about Italy, and that was part of the reason that they didn't have the top end for enough of the people who were doing the work. I don't even know if it's true, though. But it is kind of weird still that you'd be that far away. And the biggest piece, and the other part that was interesting in Italy is, like, almost nothing is in downtown. Most of this is outside. So I'm hearing from some of the main media pundits that you're not actually getting a feel for what these Olympics are like because they're so spread out.
Mm-hmm.
So
interesting. Well, you guys can let us know your thoughts because I've enjoyed looking at it. Excuse me. It looks very simple, but that's not a knock on it. I think it does what it needs to do. It serves the purpose because, as you recall, Italy's not very known as a hockey nation. Now, it will grow the game, and I do hope that it does encourage more players from Italy, as we've seen for both men and women play, to come up and potentially be involved. And a lot of the young players that were playing for Italy are prospects or players who play in some of the leagues below the NHL. But I think it does stir interest, right, which is really great. So,
okay.
We wanted to get into NHL news about Rick Tocchet and the drama with Mitch.
Okay, can you put on rant of the night?
I sure can.
Puckpedia brings you
Rant of the Night.
Calling all hockey fans, stay on top of your game with Puckpedia. It's the ultimate source for NHL salary cap information.
Okay, guys, so I'm just going to say this right now. You guys keep posting everything. We talk about clickbait and stuff. Like, I get clickbait. I get all that stuff. But, like, come on. Rick Tocchet, he says, Michkov eats too much food. That's why he's not in shape. He eats 3 cheesesteaks and 12 soft pretzels. Really? Did he really say that? Like, come on, guys. You got to get real. This isn't kids in high school or junior high playing around. People look at this stuff, and because there's so much content out there, they just automatically believe all this stuff. But can I say this? Matej Michkov, shame on you, man. You have had your chance. Chris Pronger's come out, and he said they should just play you. If you're out of shape, they're going to know the difference. Rick Tocchet, are you really a coach? Man, this whole thing around Michkov and the Flyers, we haven't even chatted with Jamie Baskow in a long time. I love to hear what's going on in Flyerville because right now they are wasting him to become the next Niall Yakupov. if you want to be Nail Yakupov or Nail Yakupov, however you want to call him, you got to go in there. You got to find a way to get this player to the right place. And if that means you need to trade him early, then you trade him. Anyway, that's it for my rant of the night.
Puckpedia brings you
Rant of the Night.
calling all hockey fans. Stay on top of your game with Puckpedia. It's the ultimate source for NHL salary cap information.
That's a great rant of the night, and I appreciate you sharing that. You guys can let us know your thoughts and what your thoughts are on Evan's rant and on Michkov versus Tocchet, because I really see this being a bit of a challenge because you have a young player who there's high expectations for him. It's a passionate market. I love the Philadelphia Flyers. They are kind of in the rebuild phase, but if you're coming into camp not prepared, your ice time may be dropped a little bit. And if he's averaging between 10 to 13 minutes of ice time, that's not allowing your superstar to connect, and you need him going. And that's not to add to the situation that what happened with Cutter Gauthier, who's been phenomenal for Anaheim. And don't get me wrong, I love Jamie Drysdale, but he is not going to be Cutter Gauthier. And I think that whole situation has really, really taken a beat into the PR, right? The fact that Danny Briere spoke before, before game time, just before the break, it just goes to show you that they need to figure this out. And I know he tried to calm the waters, Danny Briere, but I also really believe that they need to just dial it down. Hey, Andrew, always great to hear from you. Thank you. And Quack, I guess you're a Ducks fan. But yeah, it just goes to show you that you don't want to run superstars out of town. You have to give them an opportunity, right? And people play or pay to see Michkov. There are a lot of fans of the player. It's just going to take some time for him to develop. But I also think he needs to take the onus on himself on bettering himself. He needs a mentor, Evan. Do you think he has that in Philadelphia? Because I don't believe he does.
No, I don't think they have enough veterans in there right now that there's anyone to come along and do that.
Is Andrea, Sean Couturier. I think you need a veteran Russian to come in and kind of just guide him and help him.
I mean, this was an issue that 2112 Hockey Agency, Daryl Wolski talked to us about with players that he had over there talking about Michkov coming in. I even mentioned it, and Jamie, if you're listening, I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, but I did mention that this was a problem that they said that everyone in Philly was just ignoring, that this was not a problem. In his first year, it looked good. There are parts to his thought process. Remember, he didn't want to play anywhere else either. So there are things you got to be aware of.
People forget that when a player wants to play in your city for your club, that's important when you have that, because you want someone to be there.
Yeah, but it's a bit of a prima donna thing, man, to say, I'm only going to play over here. I don't know, man. But I don't blame his play. I'm with Timo here. I see, Timo, you wrote, Rick Tocchet's a bad coach. He is only in the NHL because he knows people. He ran Hall and Chikrin out of Arizona. He was horrible in Vancouver with the brightest young core they had in 2 decades.
They had good success with the 1 year.
Now he's in Philly and he's right. I agree. And this is why I know they actually were close on not Dan Moose. Who was the guy that Mitch Love? They were close on Mitch Love, which is probably good.
Yeah.
It didn't happen.
Went over
and
to
Jay
the
Woodcroft. And they did consider Jay Woodcroft also there for it. With it. I know Jay Woodcroft has some flaws, but I think he might have been better for those young folks over in Philadelphia. But I've said this all along. Actually, I think that sticking with Torts would have been a better idea. Torts did actually really well with him considering, but he told him, I'm putting you out there and you can play and you look bad.
This was because of the Cutter Gauthier situation that they lost. That they lost or fired or let go of not talking, but Torts. Yeah.
No, it wasn't just because of Cutter. It was.
I think it's one of the reasons why they got rid of him.
I think they were
Cutter
ready.
wanted to play, and I mean the organization also didn't believe he was ready.
It's
they
the old boys club.
Him an opportunity to play, but they,
Old boys club, right? I mean, and Lost Trucker brought that up last time around Brazil, and if she's I don't see her on tonight, but she'll catch things later. I mean, she brought this up. Like Pedersen became a different person under Tocchet. It's like Tocchet took that away. Like, I mean, they should never got rid of Boudreaux. Boudreaux was perfect in there. I know that they were still going, but because they came in and things changed. Yeah. So what's that?
Bruce, there it is.
Yeah. What's Laszlo say?
It's always Hartford Whalers players as coaches and GMs who do these stunts.
Yeah, going back actually wasn't. I'm just trying to think. Well, Ron Francis too. Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. Those Whalers won't leave us alone.
We did talk about a little bit about Panarin, but can we just quickly talk about Seattle and how they made a big whopping offer for Panarin for a 4-year plus deal at a higher amount that
never
he
heard.
Wanted?
I never heard.
Oh yeah, so they were the ones that made a big offer for Panarin in the sweepstakes. Now, of course, there were some other teams involved, and of course, he landed in LA, and they needed it. But they really wanted to move him, and I know that they considered potentially moving, not necessarily in this trade, but Matty Beniers potentially out, or even Shane Wright, because they wanted to get a superstar stud who can score and be a difference maker. But your thoughts on Seattle and kind of what's going on there? Like, they're in the playoff hunt, but what are the Seattle Kraken?
Yeah, you know, if we're talking Utah Mammoth, I totally get it. Talking the Seattle Kraken, it's just like, just because you're on the edge, like, are you really on the edge? You know how many other teams are on the edge of this? Excuse me, I'm not a fan of Jason Botterill. I never have been. I'm not a fan of Ron Francis either. I think Ron Francis was hiding originally over when he was over in Carolina, and it was Rob Brindamore that was really the magic over there. In fact, I see Rob Brindamore becoming the next general manager after Tulesky or something, or joining him as an assistant or something down the road when he doesn't want to be behind the bench anymore. I mean, Brindamore's that. If they want a former Flyer, by the way, that's who you want. If you could ever get him. I know they wanted him, but they'll never get him. I think he's there for life now.
The offer was, because I know he was looking at 4 to 5 years, around 45 to 50 million, but they were willing to offer him 12 million per year for 3 to 4 years.
That's only one more with an extra year.
But he only took a 2-year, $22 million contract.
Yeah. So he took 11.
Yeah, 11 per season.
Yeah. So he got 2 less years maximum and $2 million. So, I mean,
he believes he can go, and Russians like to play in LA, you know. Kovalchuk went there, you know, and with Kopitar off the books next year, although they still need a center, right? Like, who's going to play center for them? Is Byfield ready to take that 1C spot?
No.
Or are they going to go after someone like a Vincent Trocheck, right? So it'll be interesting to see.
That'll be interesting, yeah.
Where would you like to focus next? Because I'm pretty much
okay.
But go ahead.
Yeah, no. So just a couple of things. There are some milestones that I think that we need to actually look at, folks. I don't know if you guys have actually thought about this, but some of the milestones that are coming up. Ovechkin's 1,000 goal quest. What about that? I don't know. He was at 4 goals from 1,000 career, including playoffs. So that is a big one, which include now what about Crosby and McKinnon? So Crosby was 7 assists. I don't have my numbers official today, so this is a couple days back. 7 assists away from 1,100. Nathan McKinnon, 1 away from 700. He must have made it, I think, on his 700th. I'm not sure. You guys can check that out. But, man, I'm telling you, this is my big one. The Atlantic dogfight. The Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah.
The Buffalo Sabres. I am excited. Believe it or not, there is a lot of excited people. Could this be the year? They're sitting 3rd in the Atlantic. Potentially could end a 14-year playoff drought. Would those fans go nuts even for 1 win in the playoffs? Just a playoff round, win them 1 or 2 games. If that's all you do this year, but then next year you come back.
A round or 2.
But can I say this? They needed the right guy to come in. Yarmo was the right one. He brings the culture with him. It's not always the decision you make or the player you bring in. It's the culture you build around you. So one of the biggest things with any company,
a shot at Kevin Adams.
You know, well, you let it be. I
But
didn't
he
like
built the
Evan Adams
team.
coming in from the very beginning. I
He
was
built
not
the
big on
team.
Jason Botterill before that. I know he came from Pittsburgh, but that has nothing to do with it, right? Just because you come from somewhere, I don't
I
know,
mean,
man.
I think Adams deserves a little bit of credit because he put the team together. You can't tell me that overnight the team
Culture,
is.
though. Culture. This is what
Yeah,
I'm saying. It's a lot to do with culture, how people perceive you, because you
yeah,
build the momentum, you build
100%.
the feeling, right? Like right
100%.
now, the culture, let's just say it, the culture in Colorado is strong. The
Yeah,
culture in Dallas is
there's buy.
strong. The
Yeah,
culture in Winnipeg is bad, not just because they're a bad team. They actually have a good team, but they're struggling. They just need 2-3 pieces. The
yeah.
culture in Edmonton, terrible. If they make it past the first in the first round, I mean, you and I are debating on that. You think they'll just do it on the sheer strength of 3-4 players, but man, I don't think it matters what goalie's in there right now. I don't think it matters who they bring in. They got to deal with the culture, and I think that's the frustration, and I think that's what happened in Buffalo, and they finally have surpassed and dealt with the culture piece. Now, let's find the missing pieces. No more good players going out, and I think they signed Alec Tuck now.
Oh, you think so? Okay. Well,
I think if they make the playoffs, I don't see him being traded before. If they make the playoffs, I think that, again, that's his home. That's where he wants to be. If he feels they're a good enough team, I mean, look at how many wins. Them and Tampa. Them and Tampa are the stories right now going
John
into the
Cooper's
Olympic break.
my Jack Adams right now because
What's that,
the
sorry?
guy has never. John Cooper's my Jack Adams nominee because of what he's been able to do with that team with all the turnaround and the turnover and the injuries. They've had Hedman in and out of the lineup for a long time. They made the bold decision with Brisebois to not re-sign Stamkos. I mean, Kucherov is still playing at an elite level, and he can potentially also be nominated for the Hart. That's how good and valuable he is to that team. I mean,
Wow.
Taylor Radish, he's a player to watch out for because he's going to get paid. He is a right-handed shot UFA who's 27 years old, Evan. Keep an eye on that name because people are going to be bidding for his services. He could potentially get 6 to 7.5, if not 8 million on the open market. That's how good he is right now. And you indicated Nathan McKinnon potentially breaking a record. Was it assists? Because he has had 701.
How much does he have now? 701? Okay, yeah. I thought he might have broke it just before he went in. Yeah. And where's Crosby for his goal?
Let's see here.
Crosby was hitting close there. It was.
He is at 652.
Oh no, his assist. Sorry, his assist.
Oh,
My
assist,
apologies.
1,094.
Yeah. So okay, so he's 6 still short, is what we're looking at here. So
I think he'll make it this year. And it'll be interesting to see if they make the playoffs this year and if Pittsburgh can make some damage because whenever Pittsburgh and Sidney Crosby are in the playoffs, the whole league wins. So it's fun. I've enjoyed watching Buffalo. I think that fan base really deserves it. It was good. That's it on my end. I had one question for you that's not hockey related that I want to throw out there, but I'll let you kind of wrap up if you have any final thoughts before we wrap up the show.
Just got my hockey history to wrap.
All right, so let's get in to a little hockey history.
Hey, folks. So we're right in the thick of the Milano Winter Olympics now. It's in there. NHL stars are back on the Olympic ice for the first time in over a decade. Now, Canada takes on Czechia tomorrow morning. It's going to be electric. But now, when I say tomorrow morning, I'm talking Mountain Standard Time over in the western part of the world. But before we dive into any of the others, let's step back and let's remember why this tournament it's different than every other one. Olympic men's hockey isn't just games. It's a century-plus saga of national pride. Think of it. Cold War drama, underdog miracles, moments that changed the sport forever. And we're just telling the story from the early Canadian dynasty to the Miracle on Ice, the Pro era, the recent twists without NHL talent. Remember that during a period of time? So, guys, grab your Tim Hortons because I want to talk about it. This is hockey history at its best. All right, the early days, guys. Canada's golden era was the 20s to the 50s, and it started in the summer of 1920 at Antwerp Olympics. That's right, Antwerp Olympics. It was the summer ice hockey debuted as an outdoor demo on this tiny little rink in Canada, represented by the Winnipeg Falcons. You Jets fans will love that. And they dominated. They won the gold. They outscored their opponents. Now, 4 years later, at the first true Winter Games, I believe the pronunciation was Chamonix in 1924. Canada did it again, and they crushed teams like Switzerland 33-0. I hope we don't have any of that going on. That's still the highest scoring Olympic hockey blowout ever. Canada owned the podium, golds in 20, 24, 28, 32. They were amateurs, like with their club teams, and they had speed and skill that were worlds ahead of everyone else, right? They were working class guys, though. They were firefighters. They were miners. They were playing for country on frozen ponds back home. No big contracts, just pure passion. And then came the first cracks. In 1936, right, at Garmisch Parchichikin, I can't even say it right, in Great Britain, they were loaded with Canadian-born players who had dual eligibility, and they shocked the world and beat Canada for gold. Listen, it was controversial, but it proved the games were spreading. And so post-World War II, Canada kept winning until 1956. And then the Soviet Union arrived like a storm. Remember, that was the communism. So they took gold in Cortina and never looked back for decades. So the rivalry was born. I have to say, I love the best on best, but there is something missing from the Olympics when all of a sudden NHL players join in, NBA players join in. Now, flag football will be in the summer, and what are we going to have? NFL players playing in the Olympics? Oh, man. Bring back the 20s, 30s, and 40s, folks. That was a fun time. That's hockey history.
That was a great hockey history, so thank you for sharing. And if you guys have some hockey history you want to share, feel free to reach out and let us know. We'd love to share that story with us. All right, Evan, we're wrapping up at the end of the show. As always, we've gone over time because we're known as two guys in overtime. But before we wrap up, I wanted to know, did you watch the Super Bowl and did you enjoy it?
I did watch the Super Bowl. We hosted a big, large party with about 60, 65 people on a giant, massive screen at our church facility. And I enjoyed my company, enjoyed giving gifts away, things that I paid for, things that friends paid for. We had kids, people that don't like football, people that no one liked most of the teams. And can I just say, I didn't. It was the most boring Super Bowl I've watched probably in 25 years. Pretty disappointing.
That's fair. Well, you guys can let us know if you enjoyed it. But
did you?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was overall good, but I don't watch enough football to know the competition. And I feel like I was rooting for the Seahawks a little bit, but it was definitely interested just to kind of see what would happen. The halftime show is always interesting. Forgetting all the politics, I think in general, it's a spectacle, and I thought it was very well done. And so I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the commercials, and I thought it was a good way to spend some time with family and watch the game.
Did you get the American commercials or did you get Canadian?
The American commercials, yeah.
Oh, so that's why you enjoyed it differently, because you got to see stuff that I didn't get to see, or anyone in Canada.
For sure. And speaking of commercials, we are here every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We are on Facebook, on YouTube, on X/old Twitter, and on Instagram. Go give us a follow. We are also on Discord. We love connecting with you guys. We have articles that go up regularly on our website, so go check it out, as well as former guests of the show that we have had on and the episode they were on, if you want to go catch that. We want to thank our sponsors again for all the partnership. And if you want to get involved, feel free to reach out at 2guys@hockeytalk@gmail.com. And as always, we love hearing from you guys, but we are going to wrap it up for another edition of Two Guys, Season 7, Episode 21. Any final thoughts, Evan, before we wrap up?
No, looking forward to the game tomorrow to see Team Canada get started against Czechia. Guys, in the meantime,
Who's your starting goalie, Bennington or Kemper?
well, mine is Logan Thompson, but I think they're going with Bennington. Stupid choice.
Yeah.
But it's Czechia, so they'll still win even if he lets in 3-4 goals. I think it's going to be my prediction, the game will be 6-3.
Oh, wow. Okay. And in
the meantime,
and in
between time,
keep your sticks on the ice.
On the ice.
Bye, guys. Have a good, safe night. Enjoy Olympic hockey.